What really happens at the end of times according to the scriptures? The Dragnet Parable in the Gospel of Matthew doesn't just offer a story, it reveals a profound celestial operation with angels at the helm, orchestrating the final judgment. This mysterious role of angels, often overlooked, serves as a divine filter, segregating the righteous from the wicked with unfathomable precision. As we delve into this narrative, the scriptural insights and theological interpretations we explore may challenge your understanding of the end times. The Dragnet Parable, as detailed in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verses 47 to 50, presents a vivid illustration of the final judgment. This parable depicts a net that was cast into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. The good fish were saved, and the bad were discarded, an analogy for the final sorting of the righteous and the wicked at the end of the age. The angels are described as the reapers in this scenario, tasked with separating the evil from the righteous. This scriptural text, while succinct, opens a deep theological reflection on the nature of judgment and the role of angels as divine agents. The cultural context of the time reflected a broad understanding of angels not only as messengers but also as executors of God's will. The role of angels in the Dragnet Parable can be seen from several theological perspectives. One interpretation suggests that angels, as divine agents, underscore the seriousness and the sanctity of the judgment process. They are not mere spectators but active participants, which emphasizes the order and authority of the divine judgment. Another perspective views the involvement of angels in the judgment process as a symbol of God's mercy and justice. Angels, being pure spirits and devoid of human sin, execute judgment without bias or error, which reinforces the fairness of divine justice. These interpretations collectively highlight the dual nature of angels as both servants and warriors of God, executing His will with precision and reverence. This view aligns with the broader scriptural narratives that depict angels interacting with humanity, guiding, protecting, and sometimes punishing, in accordance with divine directives. Exploring the Dragnet Parable and the role of angels therein sheds significant light on the eschatological themes within Christian doctrine. It reaffirms the belief in a final judgment and the resurrection of the righteous, as articulated in the Apostles' Creed. The portrayal of angels as sorters of the righteous and the wicked serves as a poignant reminder of the eternal consequences of human actions and the ultimate reality of divine justice. This understanding encourages a reflective and conscientious Christian life, aware of the transient nature of earthly existence and the enduring impact of moral choices. The scripture provides a multifaceted understanding of divine justice. It encourages believers to ponder deeply on their spiritual journey and readiness for the final day of reckoning. These insights not only draw on the specific roles assigned to celestial beings but also invite believers to explore the implications of divine judgment and the nature of salvation. It emphasizes the holistic approach of Scripture, interlinking doctrinal beliefs with practical spiritual realities, urging a life aligned with divine will. In understanding the implications of the Dragnet Parable and the angel's role, it's crucial to consider the broader theological and cultural context. This parable was spoken to a predominantly Jewish audience who were familiar with the imagery of fishing, a common occupation in Galilee. The expectation of a messianic figure who would come to judge and restore was deeply rooted in Jewish eschatology, seen in prophecies like Daniel 7 verses 13 to 14. The depiction of angels in the role of sorters in the parable aligns with these messianic expectations, illustrating a final, divine sorting that is both feared and anticipated. However, this eschatological vision also diverged from some contemporary expectations of a solely earthly Messiah who would lead a political or military revolution. Instead, the parable emphasizes a spiritual sorting, a divine judgment that transcends earthly realms, suggesting a more profound and encompassing divine intervention. Critics of a strictly supernatural interpretation of the parable might argue that the emphasis on angelic involvement could detract from the role of human agency in divine judgment. However, considering the broader scriptural canon, the role of angels in the parable can be seen as complementary to human responsibility. It does not negate the need for moral choice but reinforces the seriousness of divine judgment. The New Testament, particularly in Hebrews 1 verse 14, describes angels as ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation, which supports the idea that angelic activities are in service to God's redemptive plan. The exploration of the Dragnet Parable and the role of angels offers profound insights into the Christian understanding of eschatology and divine judgment. It highlights the roles of angels as both enforcers of divine will and servants to humanity's ultimate spiritual welfare. This dual role reinforces the message of the parable: judgment is inevitable, and it is divinely orchestrated with precision and authority. The parable not only speaks to the end times but also invites Christians to reflect on their personal spiritual readiness and the nature of divine justice. It encourages a holistic view of Scripture, where celestial beings are integral to God's plan, serving a purpose that extends beyond simple messengers to being active participants in the divine narrative. This understanding allows believers to appreciate the depth of divine justice and the role of the supernatural in the broader Christian doctrine, providing a richer, more nuanced appreciation of the Christian faith and its teachings on eschatology and divine intervention. This exploration into the Dragnet Parable and the angel's active participation in the divine judgment sheds light on deeper theological meanings and the intricate roles that celestial beings play in the eschatological narratives of Christianity. Understanding these roles offers not just a glimpse into the spiritual realm but also a reflective mirror on our own lives and destinies. What does this mean for your spiritual journey? How does it affect your view on divine justice and the afterlife? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to join the conversation on these eternal questions. God bless your path to deeper understanding and faith. What does it truly mean to give everything up for a single, priceless treasure? In the profound parable of the pearl, we uncover a story that challenges our deepest notions of value and sacrifice. This biblical narrative not only captivates with its simplicity but also puzzles us with its radical implications. What could possibly drive a merchant to sell all that he has for just one pearl? As we delve into this enigmatic story, prepare to explore the depths of spiritual wisdom and the transformative power of divine truth. The parable of the pearl of great price, found in Matthew 13 verses 45 to 46, is a succinct and powerful depiction of the kingdom of heaven. It tells of a merchant seeking fine pearls, who, upon finding one of great value, sells everything he has to buy it. This story is not only a depiction of the kingdom's value but also an invitation to understand the profound shifts in priorities that the gospel demands. The context of this parable, placed among other kingdom parables in Matthew, emphasizes the transformative and incomparable value of the kingdom of heaven. Historically, pearls were highly prized in the ancient world, often representing wisdom and great fortune. In this light, the merchant's action reflects a radical re-evaluation of values, where all earthly possessions pale in comparison to the treasure of the kingdom. Singular focus on divine kingdom. The merchant's decision to sell everything for one pearl illustrates a singular, focused pursuit of spiritual fullness over worldly gain. This interpretation aligns with the teachings of Jesus about the necessity of wholehearted commitment to God's kingdom. The cost of discipleship. Another perspective sees the parable as an illustration of the cost of discipleship. Just as the merchant sells all he owns for the pearl, so too must followers of Christ be willing to forsake all in order to gain eternal life. This reflects the deep, sometimes sacrificial choices required in the pursuit of spiritual truth. Transformation through divine truth. The act of selling everything for the pearl can also be seen as symbolic of the transformative power of encountering divine truth. Once the merchant recognizes the pearl's value, there is no turning back. This transformation mirrors the Christian experience of conversion and the total reorientation of one's life and priorities upon discovering the truth of the gospel. The implications of the parable extend beyond its immediate context, inviting believers to consider what they value most. The merchant's radical choice challenges contemporary Christians to assess their own commitments and what they are willing to sell or relinquish for the sake of God's kingdom. The parable does not merely advocate for prioritizing spiritual over material wealth. It suggests that the kingdom of heaven transforms the believer's entire life perspective. The parable of the pearl not only illustrates individual transformation but also serves as a metaphor for the broader Christian community's values and priorities. Historically, the early Christian community was often faced with decisions that required them to value their faith above all else, including personal safety and possessions. This parable, therefore, resonates deeply with the Christian call to view the eternal kingdom as surpassing all earthly treasures. In a broader cultural context, the parable challenges prevailing societal norms that often prioritize material wealth and success. By juxtaposing the infinite value of the kingdom of heaven with the finite value of worldly possessions, the parable invites a re-evaluation of what society deems most valuable and encourages a shift towards spiritual and moral enrichment. Critics might argue that the parable encourages impractical or extreme behavior, suggesting that it advocates for a disregard of prudent financial planning or social responsibilities. However, the essence of the parable is not about reckless abandonment of resources but about prioritizing that which is of ultimate value. The merchant's action is not impulsive, it is a calculated decision made after recognizing the unparalleled worth of the pearl. Another perspective could contend that the parable oversimplifies complex life choices, reducing them to a binary decision between material and spiritual wealth. While it's true that real-life decisions often involve nuanced considerations, the parable serves as a theological ideal, a beacon that guides believers in orienting their life's focus towards the spiritual realm, reminding them of the supreme value of spiritual over temporal assets. The exploration of the parable of the pearl provides profound insights into Christian doctrine, particularly regarding the kingdom of heaven's intrinsic value. It illustrates the transformative impact of recognizing and prioritizing this ultimate treasure. The merchant's decision is a powerful allegory for the radical, life-changing commitment that is expected of believers, a commitment that, while challenging, promises eternal and unmatchable rewards. The parable not only highlights the necessity of prioritizing the kingdom of heaven but also challenges individuals and communities to consider how their choices reflect their ultimate values. It acts as a mirror, reflecting the nature of what believers truly treasure. This story is not just a narrative about a past event but a living, ongoing challenge that resonates with every generation of believers, prompting continual self-examination and realignment of priorities in the light of eternal truths. By engaging with these interpretations and counterarguments, believers and scholars alike are invited to deepen their understanding of the kingdom of heaven and explore the multifaceted ways in which this supreme value manifests in the scriptural narrative and in their lives. As we conclude our journey through the parable of the pearl, we are left to ponder the profound implications of this simple yet powerful story. What we hold dear and the sacrifices we are willing to make speak volumes about our values and our faith. This parable invites each of us to reflect on our own lives and consider what we are prepared to sell to gain what is truly priceless. Thank you for joining us in this exploration. We hope it has enriched your understanding and inspired your faith journey. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to join the conversation and engage with other like-minded individuals. God bless you. What if the simplest stories held the keys to the deepest mysteries of the universe? The Dragnet Parable, a seemingly straightforward allegory told by Jesus, might just be a window into the ultimate fate of humanity. As we delve into this biblical passage, we uncover layers of meaning that challenge our perceptions of judgment and redemption. What secrets does this parable hold about the end times? Join us as we unravel the symbolic meanings embedded within this ancient text. The Dragnet Parable, recounted in the Gospel of Matthew 13 verses 47 to 50, serves as a profound allegory in the eschatological discourse of Jesus Christ. This parable, using the imagery of a net thrown into the sea collecting all kinds of fish, symbolizes the final judgment, where the righteous are separated from the wicked at the end of the age. According to Matthew's Gospel, Jesus explains that the net represents the kingdom of heaven itself, a tool to gather every kind from the sea of humanity. The angels are depicted as the sorters who segregate the evil from the righteous, a theme that resonates deeply with the Old Testament prophetic literature such as Daniel and Ezekiel, which speak of end times with vivid imagery and divine intervention. The Dragnet Parable has been subject to diverse theological interpretations. Predominantly, it can be viewed as a warning and a promise, an imminent sorting out that calls for preparedness and purity. Firstly, this parable suggests an inclusive yet discerning nature of the kingdom of heaven. Secondly, it is also seen as a reflection on the nature of the church, gathering all until the end of the age when true natures will be revealed. These theological viewpoints underscore the dual nature of God's final judgment, both merciful in its patience and formidable in its finality. They invite a broader discussion on the implications of divine justice and the eschatological hope embedded within Christian eschatology. In the exploration of apocalyptic forecasts within the New Testament, the Dragnet Parable is pivotal. This parable exemplifies the kingdom's inclusive call, where the gospel is preached to all, yet it also starkly portrays the exclusive reality of final judgment where only righteousness has a place. This dynamic is critical for understanding the nature of God's kingdom as both a present reality and a future promise. The symbolic imagery of the Dragnet Parable extends beyond a mere eschatological warning to a rich tapestry of cultural and doctrinal implications. Historically, the early Christian community would have understood this parable against the backdrop of a tumultuous period marked by Roman oppression and a fervent expectation of messianic deliverance. This parable reflects the broader biblical theme of God's sovereignty over history and his ultimate purpose of renewing creation. It is a microcosm of the biblical narrative where divine judgment is not merely punitive but redemptive, aiming to restore rather than destroy. Critics of the apocalyptic interpretation of the Dragnet Parable might argue that such readings overemphasize future judgment while neglecting the present ethical and communal implications of Jesus' teachings. In response, it's essential to consider that the parable, while certainly pointing to the end times, also calls for vigilant and righteous living in the present. This balance between future hope and present responsibility is a hallmark of Christian doctrine, which sees ethical living as a testimony to the coming kingdom. The exploration of the Dragnet Parable offers new insights into the Christian understanding of the end times, particularly highlighting the dynamic interplay between judgment and mercy, inclusion and exclusion. This parable not only illustrates the complexity of divine judgment but also invites reflection on the nature of the church as a mixed community where true and false disciples coexist until the end of the age. By engaging with these theological insights, believers are encouraged to deepen their understanding of eschatological themes and to embrace the tension between present realities and future promises. This not only enriches the Christian faith but also equips believers to navigate the complexities of life with hope and discernment, anchored in the ultimate truth of God's sovereign plan. As we close this discussion on the Dragnet Parable, we're reminded of the profound layers of meaning that such a simple story can convey. This exploration has not only deepened our understanding of divine judgment and mercy but also highlighted the ongoing relevance of Jesus' teachings to our modern lives. What are your thoughts on the symbolic interpretations of this parable? How do they resonate with your views on the end times? Share your insights and join the conversation below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. God bless you. What if the truest treasures of life are hidden where we least expect them, buried not beneath the earth but within the depths of our spiritual journey? The parable of the hidden treasure, as told in Matthew's Gospel, challenges our conventional understanding of value and sacrifice, posing a fundamental question: what are we willing to give up for something infinitely greater than all we possess? Dive into this exploration of sacrifice and spiritual enlightenment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to join us on this enlightening journey. The parable of the hidden treasure, found in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 44, offers a profound glimpse into the nature of sacrifice and the kingdom of heaven. Jesus describes the kingdom of heaven as treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. This simple yet powerful parable encapsulates a deep theological concept of value and sacrifice. This parable, though brief, is dense with meaning. It is part of a series of teachings by Jesus using parables, which were common during his ministry to convey spiritual truths through everyday situations and stories. The historical context of this parable reflects a time when Jesus was explaining the nature of the kingdom of heaven to his followers amidst a Jewish culture that was heavily laden with expectations of a political Messiah who would overthrow Roman rule. Personal sacrifice and ultimate value. The primary interpretation of this parable is the value of the kingdom of heaven, so great that sacrificing all earthly possessions becomes worthwhile. This man's action of selling everything to buy the field suggests a radical reevaluation of what is truly valuable, implying that the realization of spiritual truth demands complete personal commitment. Hiddenness and revelation. Another layer of interpretation considers the aspect of hiddenness in the parable. The treasure is not lying in the open but is buried. This symbolizes spiritual truths that are not always apparent to the casual observer but require an active, searching engagement. Once discovered, the response is immediate and joyous sacrifice, suggesting that true spiritual enlightenment is transformative. The joy of discovery. The emphasis on joy in this parable is significant. The man does not buy the field out of duty or obligation, but joy. This interpretation highlights that the pursuit and acquisition of spiritual truth, represented by the kingdom of heaven, is not a burdensome task but a joyous realization that redefines the believer's life. The parable of the hidden treasure directly ties the concept of sacrifice to the acquisition of something of far greater worth. The act of selling all that he has to buy the field illustrates a profound truth about the nature of divine kingdom. It demands everything from an individual but offers something infinitely greater in return. This transaction mirrors many scriptural themes where profound losses are often depicted as preludes to even greater gains in a spiritual sense, such as the death and resurrection of Christ himself. The narrative invites believers to consider what they are willing to give up in order to gain what is of ultimate value. It challenges the reader to evaluate personal values and priorities in light of eternal truths and promises. This parable thus serves not only as a theological statement about the kingdom of heaven but also as a practical guide for spiritual dedication and sacrifice. Exploring the broader implications of the hidden treasure parable, we must consider its significance in a historical and cultural context. In Jesus' time, the Jewish community held fervent expectations of a Messiah who would deliver them politically and socially. The parable subverts these expectations by presenting the kingdom of heaven not as a political revolution but as a personal spiritual awakening that requires individual sacrifice and transformation. This shift from external to internal deliverance challenges conventional expectations and suggests a deeper, more personal engagement with spiritual truths. It indicates that the true treasure, often hidden, must be sought after with diligence and is worth all that one possesses. This teaching could have been both radical and liberating for Jesus' followers, who lived under oppressive Roman rule, hinting that true freedom and value were found not in overthrowing external powers but in an internal transformation. Critics of this interpretation might argue that the parable simplifies the complexities of life's sacrifices and the pursuit of spiritual truth. They might suggest that not all personal sacrifices lead to divine reward or that the kingdom of heaven cannot be equated simply with personal enlightenment or sacrifice. However, this criticism can be addressed by acknowledging the parable's role as a teaching tool rather than a comprehensive doctrine. It is designed to provoke thought and introspection, not to serve as a literal blueprint for economic or material actions. Moreover, different theological traditions might emphasize various aspects of the parable, such as the role of grace versus personal effort in discovering the treasure. These perspectives enrich the discussion, highlighting the multifaceted nature of biblical interpretation and the diverse ways believers can understand and live out their faith. The exploration of the hidden treasure parable offers profound insights into the spiritual significance of sacrifice. This parable encapsulates a powerful truth about the kingdom of heaven, presenting it as a treasure worth all that one might own. Through this story, believers are invited to reflect on the value they place on spiritual truths and the sacrifices they are willing to make to attain them. The parable does not merely talk about sacrifice in material terms but rather emphasizes the joy and fulfillment that come from prioritizing spiritual over worldly treasures. Ultimately, the hidden treasure parable enriches our understanding of the kingdom of heaven and challenges us to consider what we are prepared to give in pursuit of what is ultimately invaluable. It serves as a pivotal lesson on value, sacrifice, and joy, essential themes for anyone navigating the complexities of faith and life. By integrating these theological explorations, believers and scholars alike are encouraged to continue reflecting on and discussing the dynamics of sacrifice and value. This fosters a deeper and more nuanced understanding of the spiritual life and its demands. This parable, like many of Jesus' teachings, continues to inspire and challenge individuals to rethink their priorities and commitments in light of eternal truths. As we conclude our exploration of the hidden treasure parable, it's clear that the profound lessons it teaches continue to resonate deeply with those seeking spiritual truths. This discussion invites us not only to reflect on what we value most but also encourages us to make the ultimate sacrifice for the true riches of the kingdom of heaven. Share your thoughts in the comments below on how this parable has influenced your understanding of sacrifice and spiritual wealth. If you found this insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to help spread these timeless truths. Thank you for watching, and may your journey toward spiritual treasures be as enriching as it is transformative. God bless you.